Prologue. June 28, 2033. Regina clapped her hands twice. Her orders were obeyed without hesitation. The three children put their touchscreens down on the floor in front of them and stared into empty space. Dr. Shelley bent down and took the youngest boy by the hand, beckoning him to get up off the floor. "It's this one, isn't it?" he said, looking down at the silent 7-year-old. "I'll be sorry to lose him. 5 years is a long time, but it'll be worth it in the end." He then pulled the boy away from the other two children and handed him over to the lady in blue. "Say hello to your mother, Jonah." The boy said nothing. The lady in blue said nothing. Now holding the boy by the hand, she looked down into the dead and emotionless eyes that were staring back up at her. "Such a quaint name, Jonah," Dr. Shelley mused. "It is Jonah, isn't it?" The lady in blue didn't answer. Still looking down at the boy, she smiled warmly and nodded. The little boy, who had shown no previous interest in her ever since she came in, suddenly smiled back at her and tightened his grip around her hand. "Where are you taking him again?" Dr. Shelley clicked his fingers as he tried to remember. "I know it was someplace beginning with Cha or Sha." "Chamonix," came the reply. "We'll be there before nightfall." "Well, we mustn't keep you then." Regina, who had observed everything from a safe distance, eagerly made her way to the door and typed in the PIN code to unlock it. Dr. Shelley extended his hand to say his goodbyes. "Well, it's been nice working with you." Shaking his hand, the lady in blue replied before he could pronounce her name. "Yes, it's been a pleasure, Anton. Farewell." Still holding the boy with her other hand, she turned around and walked towards the door, which Regina was now holding open for them. The lady in blue stopped briefly before passing her by. The two women, arch rivals from the very moment they had first met, exchanged no words. They simply nodded at each other with icy expressions and stone-cold faces. And with that, the lady in blue continued on her way, finally leaving that awful chlorine-drenched room behind her for the last time. Jonah, who was still holding her hand, briefly turned his head around to look back into the room that had been his home for as long as he could remember. The two doctors and the two other children were all staring directly at him as he and the lady in blue stepped out into the hallway. Overcome by a sudden sense of dread, the boy looked back up at the woman they called Mother, and once again tightened his grip around her hand. As soon as mother and son were out of sight, but by no means out of mind, Regina let out a loud sigh of relief as she shut the door. "Jonah!" she scoffed, remembering the childish fable that this name was often associated with. "Might as well have called him Pinocchio." Dr. Shelley let out a loud, scornful laugh. The two other children, who had reverted to staring motionlessly into empty space, appeared to suddenly wake up from their trance at the hearty sound proceeding from the doctor's nicotine-coated lungs. Seeing the two of them looking up at him, Dr. Shelley's laughing fit came to an abrupt halt. "All right, you two," he barked down at them, clapping his hands. "Back to work." The two children picked the touch screens up off the floor and resumed the game that they had been playing before the brief interruption. Now down to only 2 players in a game designed for 3. They had to make up for the missing brain and fill the void with every last cell, tissue, and neuron of theirs. Anton Shelley and Regina Villanova knew that these children could do it, and took great pleasure in seeing their little fingers speed across the screens, trying to make up for their missing teammate. "Willpower," said Regina, sounding delighted with herself. "Willpower is the key to everything." Neither she nor Dr. Shelley, nor indeed anyone near or far, could have predicted that only a few hours later, beginning at midnight that very night, the world as they knew it would come to an abrupt end. Survivors would later refer to the event as the Great Cataclysm, a set of 3 continuous days during which every source of light, natural and unnatural, refused to shine. And when the golden rays of sunshine finally returned, there remained only about a third of the Earth's original population to embrace the warm light of the new dawn.